Discover U Radio's discussion. Stay tuned for Dakota Freeman and Lauren Miller as they get into an intense debate regarding the subject matter as they give two separate opinions.
You look up, and there they are again. That customer that said that they weren't coming back last time. But there was a time before that, and a time before that. I'm never coming back. I'm never coming back. Your Guide to Customer Service by Brad and Eagle on Amazon and Kindle.
Welcome to the debate. Welcome to episode number 45 of the debate, where we share our disagreements with logical thinking about Chapter 2, titled The Last Minute Pickup, of Brendan Eagle's book called Your Guide to Customer Service, the Mirror Edition. And before we jump in, I have to give a special shout out.
Oh, definitely. You're talking about the recent segment from the deep dive, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just so impressive. The deep dive by Robert Simmons and Rita Fox was just phenomenal. And I actually had the privilege to be in the room while they recorded their segment.
That is so cool.
It really was. So I took extensive notes, and that totally inspired our discussion today. They basically broke down the underlying mechanics of service operations. So picture the scene. It's 6:05 p.m.
The absolute worst time of day in the service drive.
Right? The final repair order is closed, the main dealership lights are shutting off, the computers are logging out, and a new service advisor is finally grabbing their code after, a grueling 10-hour shift.
Exhausting. And then you hear it.
Yep. The sound. A frantic, aggressive knock on the glass of the service drive door. A customer is standing there, pointing at their repaired vehicle parked just 20 feet away, demanding their keys.
The classic last-minute Sally scenario.
Exactly. For the new service advisors entering the automotive industry and the service managers responsible for training these new department employees, this exact moment is the crucible. It forces the central question we're debating today. Should management ever override service policies and posted business hours to please unhappy customers who arrive after the doors are locked?
It is such a critical question.
It really is. And my perspective is absolute. Management must strictly enforce closing boundaries and system shutdowns to protect staff time and break the cycle of customer entitlement.
Right. And I look at that exact same scenario, the dark lobby, the desperate customer, the new advisor caught in the middle, and I draw a very different conclusion. I'll argue from the manager's perspective that while boundaries matter, management must retain the ability to make exceptions for customers with genuine, urgent needs without forcing the burden onto the advisors.
Okay, but to understand why that approach is so dangerous, we have to look at the mechanical reality of what happens at closing time. Because customer convenience, it never justifies ignoring posted business hours.
Never? That's a strong word.
Never. Because the dealership is no longer functionally capable of releasing that vehicle. Eagle captures this perfectly with what he calls the customer logic loop.
Oh, right. The visual equation thing?
Yes. When a late customer pulls in, they see the building, they see a human inside, and they see their car. In their mind, that simple visual equation equals immediate entitlement.
Because to them, it looks simple. My car is there. Give it to me.
Exactly. But what they don't see, and what new advisors must be taught to fiercely defend, is the technical infrastructure. Cashier software shutdowns make after-hours customer releases functionally impossible.
I mean, I get that.
Right, because keys are intrinsically tied to payment, and payment is tied to secure, closed accounting systems. The day is done.
Okay, let's get into a rapid-fire look at this technical reality, though. Because I understand the framework you're referencing, but systems are ultimately tools designed to serve the business, right? They aren't absolute authorities that dictate human behavior.
But they do dictate operational reality. No payment equals no release. No system equals no transaction. Reopening payment systems after the shift is ended isn't just like an inconvenience.
Well, it's a hassle, sure.
It's more than a hassle. It breaks process and introduces real business liability. You can't just hand over keys without officially closing the ticket in the dealership management system.
I'm not saying you just throw them the keys and wave goodbye. If a customer is desperately in need, management has alternative tools.
Like what? The system is off.
A manager can utilize prearranged setups. They can process the secure manual capture of the credit card, document the physical release, and then finalize the digital transaction the next morning.
But that manual override is exactly what causes the liability. When a repair order is open, the dealership holds the legal liability for that vehicle.
Which is why a competent manager handles the paperwork.
Even with paperwork, if that car isn't closed out in the system and they get into an accident at the intersection down the street, your insurance is on the hook. You're violating merchant agreements. You are risking multi-million-dollar operational integrity to save one person from their own poor planning.
You're framing every late arrival as a failure of planning, which entirely ignores the chaotic nature of life.
I mean, it usually is poor planning.
Usually. Maybe. But true emergencies happen. And the liability you're talking about is precisely why the manager exists. Leadership is about managing risk, not avoiding it entirely.
But you're missing the psychological impact on the customer. Eagle uses this great analogy in the text, the vending machine analogy.
Right, the vending machine.
Yeah. If management overrides the system, they validate the customer's view of the service department as a vending machine. Drop a quarter in, get a soda immediately, regardless of the time. But a dealership is a complex logistical operation. It's like the doors of a commercial airplane.
Okay, the airplane comparison is a bit much.
No, it works perfectly. Once the gate agent closes that door, it doesn't matter if you're knocking on the glass of the terminal. Opening it breaks the seal, violates FAA protocols, and disrupts everyone else. The closed sign is the sealed door. Forcing it open fundamentally undermines the purpose of closing times.
The airplane analogy breaks down, though, because leaving a passenger at the gate doesn't deprive them of their own essential property. They just miss a flight.
It's still a boundary.
But in our scenario, we are holding a family's primary mode of transportation hostage over a 15-minute technicality. We have to argue the case for customers who believe they deserve exceptions for urgent needs.
But holding it hostage implies we did something wrong. They were late.
Think about Eagle's description. The customer peering through the glass like a confused raccoon. Their car is physically right there. Leaving them stranded severely damages the business's reputation.
Does it, though? Or does it just teach them the rules?
It damages trust. Overriding a policy for an urgent need is an act of high-level customer service, not a betrayal of the staff. If they spend $3,000 a year with you, losing them over a rigid software shutdown is a profound failure of business strategy.
You cannot weigh the lifetime value of a client against the daily value of the employee's well-being. This is exactly why we need to direct this debate specifically to help new advisors defend their time and schedule.
I agree we need to protect the advisors.
Then you have to enforce the boundary. When that clock hits 6 p.m., their personal life is not optional. They might be rushing to avoid late fees at daycare pickups or trying to make a doctor's appointment.
I'm not saying the advisor should stay.
But by keeping the shop open, you're saying their time is flexible. Brandon Eagle has a coaching rule for this. Empathy in the tone, steel in the policy. You can be kind and still say no.
Right, but
When management caves, they aren't playing hero. They are practicing what Eagle calls martyrdom and volunteering their staff as tribute. Every time management caves, they train the next last-minute Sally. The rules are just suggestions.
okay, wait, how is the staff volunteered as tribute if the manager is the one stepping in to take over?
What do you mean?
I mean, this is exactly what we need to discuss for the managers listening. I completely agree that advisors shouldn't be guilt-tripped. But a manager taking over a late pickup actually protects the new advisor.
It undermines them.
No, it doesn't. The manager absorbs the rule breaking. The manager says, I'll handle this release, you go home. That allows the rookie to leave, proving that management can both support the employee's schedule and save the desperate customer.
I mean, sure, the advisor physically goes home that night, but behavioral conditioning is happening here.
Conditioning for who?
For the customer. Even if the manager takes over, the behavioral lesson to the customer remains. Eagle says it best, if you only respect a boundary when it serves you, it was never the boundary you valued, only the shortcut.
But the customer was in a crisis.
The customer learns that throwing a fit works. You aren't protecting the advisor from future stress. You're guaranteeing they'll face a more entitled, more aggressive version of that customer next month who will just demand to see the manager immediately.
Look, we have to distinguish between blatant entitlement and genuine human crisis. If someone is pounding on the glass because they couldn't be bothered to leave Starbucks on time, I agree. Let the lock do its job.
Exactly. Let the lesson land.
But if someone is standing there in tears because they were at the emergency room and they need their vehicle to get their kid to a specialist the next morning, standing behind the shield of cashier software shutdowns is a failure of basic humanity.
The fatal flaw in that approach is that it requires your staff to become judges of trauma.
It's just having empathy.
But in a dark lobby at 6:10 p.m., the distinction between a real crisis and a manufactured one is completely subjective. Every single late customer acts like their delay was an act of God.
Well, they're stressed.
Right. They stalk the building. They yank on locked doors. Eagle points out they treat getting their car like a heist movie. If you require your staff to evaluate the legitimacy of a customer's personal crisis, you are putting an impossible emotional burden on them. It's emotional triage.
That is exactly why the manager takes over. You teach the rookie to stop personalizing the emergency. You coach them, if it's past 6:00 p.m., bring it to me. The manager absorbs the subjective decision-making.
But that still leaves the business operating on shifting sands. The standard has to be objective. This is how management should support staff against entitlement by backing the system.
You think hiding behind the computer is good leadership?
I think the technical shutdown is a gift. It removes emotion from the equation entirely. You teach new advisors to use the building as a boundary. If the system is off, they are off. You do not owe a lead customer your evening.
I counter that. Falling back on the computer won't let me is the weakest form of customer service. It creates an adversarial relationship.
It creates a professional boundary.
It makes the customer feel the business cares more about its software than its patrons. A service manager must reserve the right to override policies for genuine crises. Yes, it takes effort and manual paperwork, but that's how you build deep, unshakable trust within your community.
You build a loyal client base through consistency and reliability. You cannot train the public to respect your time if you show them that your time is for sale to the loudest knocker. Honoring software shutdowns and posted hours is the only way to establish true boundaries.
So you're just summarizing your stance as zero exceptions, period.
Yes, it's the only way to protect the personal lives of the advisors and stop the cycle of entitlement.
And I will summarize by saying that while new advisors absolutely must be protected and allowed to leave, management cannot run a successful business on rigid absolutes. We have to reserve the nuanced right to override policies for genuine crises.
Well, we clearly disagree on the execution of management overrides, but I think we do converge on Brandon Eagle's core premise.
Oh, absolutely.
New advisors must never be made to feel guilty for honoring the clock. The anxiety they feel when a late customer is staring them down is natural, but it's misplaced. Last-minute Sally behavior is a failure of customer planning, not a moral failing of the advisor.
I stand firmly with you there. Management must always ensure staff are not held hostage by a customer's lack of time awareness. You can be deeply empathetic without sacrificing your employees' mental health.
It's true. Balancing strict systemic boundaries with human empathy is arguably one of the most challenging aspects of entering the automotive industry.
It really takes discipline.
It does. And there is so much more to explore in Brandon Eagle's text regarding how these end-of-day interactions shape long-term business culture.
It forces every dealership to ask what they value more: absolute adherence to process or the flexibility to handle the human element.
Exactly. So, to all the new advisors and the managers tasked with guiding them, we leave the ultimate decision to you. When the systems batch out and that shadow appears at the glass, where will you draw the line? Thank you for joining us on The Debate.
There's a method to the madness of the customer who rewords everything 4 or 5 different times. Give them the same answer over and over again. Your Guide to Customer Service by Brandon Eagle on Amazon and Kindle.
Thank you for listening to Discover You Radio's discussions. We'd like to invite you to research who was spotlighted on this episode. And if they have a website, join their mailing list. Thank you for your support.